you listen to reason? Will you open your eyes? It's a wonder what you'll find with an open mind. You may be surprised. Yeah! Gotta get away from this illusion. For the sake of the world, this delusion. It's gotta,
Hi everybody, and welcome to the Atheist Experience. I'm your host today, Jen Peeples, and with me is the incomparable Tracie Harris.
Howdy.
Matt had some family obligations today, so he's going to take the weekend off, and so you got me and Tracie for today. And how you doing?
Good.
Good. Well, just before we get started, let me let everybody know, after the show, some of us will be headed down to Threadgill's for dinner. So if you are in the Austin area and you'd like to join us, you're welcome to do so. And if you'd like some more information about the Atheist Community of Austin or the Atheist Experience, you can go to our website at www.atheist-community.org. So what do you got today?
Not too much. I just have my notebook with me.
Yeah?
Yeah, just thought I'd show my notebook.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
So
it says, pray until something happens. And it's not even a joke. I mean, this is like a real religious notebook that I got at a store that, you know, they don't sell, they have like a little section where they sell kind of, you know, religious things. And I found that to be particularly funny because this is what they actually tell you to do when you go to church and when you're a Christian is pray until something happens. So, in other words, I remember that, I think mostly when I was trying to decide whether or not I believed in God when I was, you know, very young and being indoctrinated, and you would just pray and pray and pray, you know, and they would just be like, oh, you know, just keep trying, and if you do it right, God will give you a sign. Just keep looking for that sign, keep looking for that answer. And that's kind of how it works. So you just keep praying and you keep looking for anything that could be something, anything, you know, like I prayed and then I don't know, someone smiled at me, and
that counts,
yeah,
huh?
Yeah, and I was feeling kind of low, but it made me feel better, and I think God sent that person to smile at me. I mean, it gets to be like a stretch, but yeah, they tell you to just keep praying and keep asking, and that, you know, eventually God's going to answer, and it's like, well, yeah, if you keep looking for a job and you keep praying to God for a job, and the odds that you're going to find a job and say, oh, God sent me a job are pretty high. So prayer almost never fails when you look at it kind of in that light.
Yeah. So it's not that the answer was no or that there was no answer.
It's just you don't give up till you get an answer.
Yet.
You got to get something.
You know, a lot of alternative medicine works this way too. That, you know, you just have to invest in it, you know, believe that it works, and if it works for you, or you get some positive result, then it's working. And if you don't, then you just didn't do it hard enough or well enough or correctly or something.
No, I'm not that familiar with alternative med, but
yeah, there are some alternative cancer treatments that apparently, you know, if you don't get cured, then you didn't drink enough of your own urine or something along those lines. There really is an alternative treatment like that.
Don't do that. If you have cancer, don't do that.
Yes, I recommend.
Talk to your oncologist.
Yeah, I recommend that
get their opinion on it before you try something
medical
like
help.
that.
Yes, and if you feel the need to drink your own urine, get psychiatric help.
Yeah, and by the way, the American Cancer Society does put out a book on alternative and complementary medicine, which is literally like a body of research that's available on most of the cures that they're aware of that are, well, cure in quotes, cures or recommended things that people say, oh, try this or try that, and so they basically provide little sections on what has been researched about this claim. Mm-hmm. And sometimes there might be some little tidbit of a hint that there might be something positive based on a lab experiment in a rat. Mm-hmm. And sometimes something happened with a cancer cell in a petri dish, but they kind of it's interesting because you kind of see where the claims originate. You know, what was the research that was done on this particular type of, you know, thing that, oh, someone tells you eat more celery or something like that, and they'll say, well, when they did this celery study on cancer, you know, and celery, here's what was done. And so they tell you whether they were able to find any research whatsoever and what the results were. It's not a book that promotes these treatments. It's simply a book that kind of informs you about them. And so I would recommend to anybody that's vulnerable right now and dealing with cancer, either with yourself or someone you love, before you spend a crap load of your own time and energy researching a bunch of crazy cures and recommendations from well-meaning relatives and friends, you might want to spend a couple bucks and just get this book, or go to the library and see if they have it, and check some of this stuff out quickly so that you don't have to expend that kind of energy, because as well-meaning as they are, let me just say that you are not being helpful when you recommend crap to somebody in a desperate situation, because then they have to go and look it up and see if it's okay or not, and if they're not that good at research, they may not find the right answers. They might end up spending loads of money and time and investment into something that is not valid, just handing charlatans loads of money. And if they are good at research, it still takes their time, and often these people don't have that kind of time. Sometimes they're stressed out as a caregiver of someone who needs help, and someone who is not doing well or is already in cancer treatment. That person is tired, they're stressed out, they're likely looking at bills that are piling up, and what they don't need is another job. So please don't recommend crap to them. And if you just feel like you don't have the resources or the time, and you're at your wit's end as a caregiver, just take it to your oncologist and say, what do you know about this? Don't kill yourself, don't knock yourself out. I didn't mean that as a bad pun, but don't knock yourself out researching every crazy thing that somebody wants to recommend to you about their brother's cousin's sister tried this supplement and it fixed their cancer.
Yeah.
That's just, it's almost cruel, except that I know that people mean well when they do it.
Yeah, well, and my mother had breast cancer, and one of the treatments for breast cancer is they give you aromatase inhibitors that actually shut down hormone production, all hormone production. And there were so many people that said, oh, you need to go and you need to drink soy milk or eat soy, and, you know, because of the phytoestrogens, and that would have been the really wrong thing for her to do. So, you know, that actually would have been counterproductive. They're trying to stop the estrogens from acting on the cancer cells.
Yeah, check with your doctor.
Promote that. Yeah. So, yeah, some of these things are actively harmful, not just, you know, a waste of time.
Yeah, false hope is a very cruel thing. People that are really desperate are just looking for any bit of hope, and especially in situations where standard treatments may not be working, or maybe not that good to begin with as far as odds. And so you can burn through your savings quickly trying a lot of desperate things, and people in that situation do not want to. I know it's really hard to say no to somebody that you love that's sick with cancer and asking about something they heard about or something that someone told them about, and you don't want to say, no, we're not going to do this, but sometimes you just really have to say, I looked this up, it doesn't work, and we're not going to spend our money on this. It's not going to save you.
Well, do you want to go to some calls?
Sure.
All right. Well, let's talk to Frank in Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Good evening, Ms. Harris, Ms. Peeples. First time, long time, and very pleasant to speak to both of you.
Okay, thank you. So what do you got for us?
Okay, my question considers the superstitions. Would you consider, first of all, atheists to be superstitious in any way, shape, or form?
It depends on the atheist.
Yeah, I know some that are.
Not all atheists are skeptics.
Okay, well, considering superstition, because I have noticed by watching this program that there are actually superstitions among one of the hosts. I'm not sure if I'm comfortable to say the name of the host.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So basically the question I have is, if someone like Mr. Dillahunty, for example, always sits to the left side of the co-host, because he's the host, obviously. And I noticed that Miss Peeples is the host today, and Miss Harris is the co-host. And
right.
Sometimes they switch. Sometimes they switch, but I never have ever seen Mr. Dillahunty himself sit to to the right of the co-host.
That's because, well, no, Matt is always the host. The host.
Yeah.
This is the host position where Jen is sitting, and that's because that's because it's okay. But that's because of technical realities. She has the computer hooked up to some to outlets over here. It's not a thing they're like always wearing my lucky socks. It's that in the studio, the host has to sit over here because of their relation to the wall.
Oh, I understand wholeheartedly. I think it's a very good system. But my question is, has Mr. Dillahunty ever have been co-host recently?
I don't know that he, well, I mean, he may have co-hosted when he first started doing the show, but he only acts as host now.
Now, why is that? Do you fellow hosts find that kind of dictatorial?
No, Matt Dillahunty is the president of ACA, and he is also probably one of the more prolific people when it comes to counter-apologetics. Like, he goes and lectures and debates and things like that. Matt,
I noticed that,
well, yeah, Matt, if he wanted to, could come in and, like, kind of, quote, own the show. So what he does is he plays host, where he sits on the side, and then the co-host is supposed to get most of the traffic. Now, Matt, I think, would be the first one to admit that sometimes he's criticized for sort of talking a lot during the show and not really giving the co-host a lot of time, and people will write in.
He cannot hang up in a debate. He cannot hang up on someone when he is lecturing or debating them.
Correct.
And it seems kind of dictatorial, whereas you, Miss Harris, and you, Miss Peeples, you're so very kind. You do not hang up on your callers.
I've hung up on
I've
callers.
hung up on people before.
I've hung up on callers. I actually frustrated myself trying to hang up once to the point that I couldn't even hit the button correctly. Martin had to reach over and do it.
In situations where the callers would be irrational or insulting or possibly, do something in there, whereas Matt seems to be like a dictator with that. He's going,
all right, this sounds almost like an email issue.
Yeah.
Maybe write to Matt and tell him you don't like that.
My final thing is, I believe that, Miss Harris, you have an infinite more knowledge than Mr. Dillahunty, so would it ever be possible for you to be host?
I hosted a few times. I suck as host, which is why I don't host.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like to host, and I'm horrible with the phone thing. I'm like terrible with it, and I don't pay attention to the notes from the studio, and I'm just not good.
Okay, and one question, this is regarding, someone asked what is God's purpose. Last week, somebody asked what is God's purpose.
Okay.
To Ms. Peeples. Could God's purpose be to create purpose, just like the purpose for your shoes? What creates the purpose for your shoes? Your feet.
Well,
You know what I'm saying?
I don't believe that God exists at all, so...
Well, if he exists to create
irrelevant.
purpose, he's doing a really crappy job, because I don't see purpose to a whole lot of things.
Right. Well, of course. God could exist who isn't all-powerful, all-knowing, all-loving, never-changing, and ever-present. Do you agree?
Yeah, God, anything could, a unicorn could exist that's not, so yeah. I mean,
Okay.
if we're going to talk about hypotheticals, you could just build whatever you want to build.
Right, but do you believe that Matt is creating Stepford atheists, pretty much? Like, you're sitting at the right hand of the host, meaning the right hand of God, subconsciously now. Of course he's not going to be a dictator.
This is not Matt. Matt didn't build the studio.
Yeah.
Obviously not.
Okay, so it's not his plan. I think you're taking a religious imagery, the right hand of God, and you're applying it to a logistics of how the studio is built, which is really weird.
And you realize there's nothing magical about either of these chairs. Tracy and I could switch positions right now and nothing would change.
Except that it would be harder for her to host.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't mean that in that sense, but I believe that do you believe he's using the show as a stepping stone? Like he's going to leave everybody behind once if he resumes writing the book?
No.
No, I mean, I do think that Matt has done it for a very long time, and I don't expect that he's going to do it forever. But I certainly don't think that the fact that if one day, and I think when one day is probably more like it for anybody on the show, when one day Matt moves on to whatever he moves on to, whether it be something atheist or not, I mean, who does the same thing forever? I mean, I guess if you really love what you're doing, and but eventually I'm pretty sure that anybody that's done something for years and years and years might move on, but I certainly wouldn't attribute that to some kind of weird ulterior motive like they used the show or they used the people. I think that you just outgrow something or you get tired of it. How many times do we get letters from people saying the show is so similar, you get such the same calls, and how many years has Matt been doing this? I mean, I can't speak for Matt, but certainly I would be sympathetic if he said, it's time for me to go do something else.
Yeah, but for instance, I looked on the schedule, and Mr. Dillahunty was supposed to host today, and
Yes.
he was supposed to host last week. Now,
Uh-huh.
unless there's a legitimate reason for not appearing today and not appearing last
Are
week.
we allowed to speak about this?
Yeah.
I'm going to just say,
Yeah, actually,
their
Matt has
house
put this
was
out.
robbed. And so Matt and Beth have been dealing with a home robbery.
Poor Mr. Dillahunty. Poor Mr. Dillahunty.
I'm just-
I mean, he's such a woman. I mean,
And they have relatives in town. But I mean, not
Yeah,
that I
he
need to
had-
defend Matt's personal life, but I'm just saying you seem to assume a lot of things regarding motive that are just really weird.
Well, the reason why I say this is because Mr. Dillahunty has, on many occasions, because I'm an avid watcher of the show, has experienced
Okay.
told about his life as growing from a Bible Belt Baptist family,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera.
At this point, I'm just going to say I'm uncomfortable speaking anymore for Matt or
Yeah,
about
why don't-
Matt's personal life. And if you have an issue with Matt, you need to contact Matt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Email the
okay.
show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
All right. Okay, well, that was interesting.
Some people don't like Matt. Okay.
Okay, so why don't we talk to Marshall in Raleigh? Let's see. He's on line 1. Marshall.
Hi, Marshall.
Hi, you're on the show.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
All right, so I guess it says on the prompter something about doubts, right?
Something about doubts?
Well, whatever. What it says about me.
So why don't you tell us what you have in mind? What's on your mind?
All right, okay. It goes back to what Matt said a while ago to another caller. They asked, like, when will the doubt go away?
Okay.
And he said possibly never, and also that he personally hopes it doesn't.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's where mine comes from. Well, not exactly doubt, because I'm on your side of the whole thing. But this is just something that happened to me recently that I would like you to just consider. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So a friend of mine passed away over a year ago, and I found this at work. It was a receipt. It has her name on it, and then I looked at it for another second, and it had these numbers, 10212. And about a month ago, that was the date that it recently passed, right?
Okay.
Sure.
October 2nd, 2012. So, and that was her 20th birthday.
When did you find the receipt?
20 days later, the October 22nd.
And her birthday was the 2nd?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so it has her name and her 20th birthday.
Well, it has a
And,
number. It has her number on it that you
Yeah,
say
yeah, it's
correlates to her birthday, correct?
Right. It's a approval code.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so I found that, and above just that being unlikely, I probably look at about 3 to 4 or 5 receipts that come through a day out of probably 30 to 50. So it was unlikely I would even see it, much less that it happened, you know?
Okay.
So I would just want to know what you guys would take that if you had saw it.
I would
Right.
think it was a coincidence.
Yeah, I don't know quite what it is you're asking. You're saying that there's like a number associated with the receipt that happens to align. Now, you realize if you were in Europe, for example, that wouldn't be her birthday.
Yeah, it would be 210.
That'd be February 10th, correct. So, I mean, I think that this is, like Jen just said, this is what they call a coincidence, which is basically something that is related to something else in close time proximity that has meaning for the person who observes both events. So it's 2 events closely related in time that are then tied together via the brain of the person who sees them, who interprets them with some sort of meaning. That's
Yeah,
what a coincidence is.
I do see it as a coincidence, but I was wondering, I mean, you can understand that this, to me, when I first saw it, it struck me, you know, like, what are the chances of me even seeing this, let alone it having this? But I know...
Well, let me tell them a quick story. Shortly after a relative of mine died, I got a phone call at my office, and we have a display that shows names. And I was shocked to look down and see this relative's name on the display. Like, that's who was calling me. And when I picked it up, I was just like, I didn't even know what to expect. I thought this is the weirdest thing. And I pick up the phone and I said, hello? And it turned out it was one of our IT people that had the same name.
Okay.
That happens.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously something else. Obviously.
Yeah. I mean,
Again,
things happen.
I do take it as a coincidence, but I'm just saying you can understand it has, you know, like I said, it is her name. It is her birthday that passed 20 days before at the time.
Sure, you notice it because you're aware of these things. Correct, I agree.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point I was going to bring up, is that how many times have you seen things like this and you forgot about it,
actually,
or you didn't even notice it because, you know, the person that you were, whose name was on the receipt wasn't dead.
right.
You know, and
Or you didn't know their birthday.
Yeah, or you didn't know their birthday or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing. I do recognize that. I even noticed the birthday because I looked at it an extra second because it had her name.
Yeah.
And her birthday I just passed, so the numbers are in my head, you know, 10 to 12. Everyone was talking about it that day,
Right.
Yeah.
so the numbers are in my head.
But yes, you're correct. People do, I mean, people do this. That's where the word coincidence comes from. That's where that idea comes from, the idea of meaningfully putting together too closely, you know, events too closely related in time.
Right. And the main point is that I'm pretty sure I'm one of the only people that could have seen this, that knew her, that would have just chalked it up to coincidence, because most people that I know would have seen this, would have taken it as a clear sign.
Sure. No, I think a lot of people would have. Some people would have played lotto that day with her birthday.
Yep.
And then what would have happened is the real date would have come up, and it would have been like, no, that was her telling you that it was a legitimate sign with her birthday, but telling you to play the numbers for today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just got to know how to read these signs, or they're useless.
Yeah, so just obviously I'm sure you guys would have probably had the same reaction, initial reaction.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Like, wow, that's incredibly unlikely. Is there a reason that came up? And then you probably would have just realized.
Yeah. I guess I don't even think of them as incredibly unlikely. I look at like all of the events that happen in the universe every day. I think we just hit like 7 billion human beings. And so in my mind, can you imagine if a day went by and there was not one coincidence? To me, that would be weird.
Yeah, I did say that to my friend. They said, what do you think it means, like, because it's so unlikely? And I said, at any moment, there's a possibility of something like this happening. So
I think it's got to be happening all the time. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So it's probably more likely that something like this happens around the world somewhere than it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, Carl Jung, he wrote Synchronicity as a response to coincidences. I mean, he was very bothered by coincidences, and of course he had like his own personal history that had to do with some weird religious ideas about from his mom. But you know, he was a brilliant guy, but could not shake the idea that a coincidence is meaning made in your head. As much as he understood, even kind of before his time, he was ahead of his time a bit when it came to his hypotheses regarding what was going on with people's brains. And even so, he was still kind of driven a little bit whack when it came to the idea of coincidence.
Yeah. All right, well, I guess that's all I have to say. Thanks for answering.
Sure.
Okay.
Thanks for telling me what you guys think, and
All right.
have a good day.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for the call. All right. Let's see. We've got Tess in Virginia Beach on line 3.
Yes, that's me.
Hi, Tess.
Hello. First of all, I'd like to commend you guys on an awesome show.
Well, thank you.
I mean, obviously, I'm from Virginia. I came across you guys by watching YouTube and stuff like that, and it's really nice just to sit down and listen to some people who know what they're talking about. And I'll give you a bit of backstory before I get to my question. I've been an atheist for about a year now. It was actually the night before I got confirmed that George Carlin graced my computer screen, and I saw just how absurd some of the Christian claims were, that I came to my senses and dove deeper into atheism and realized that that's how I categorize myself.
So did you go through with the confirmation?
Yes, I did, but only because I knew I would be, like, having to go to the classes still.
Yeah.
My mom just said that.
Okay.
But, yeah, it's been about a year, and I've had a hard time with it because my family's extremely religious. My best friend is studying to be a youth minister right now, and I just really have no atheist friends. Thankfully, I found your show, and I feel a lot less alone. And I particularly had issues with my mom I hate to belittle, like, the problems a gay kid would go through, but I almost feel like coming out as an atheist to my mother was like coming out gay, because I experienced quite a bit of rejection.
Yeah.
And my mother was in denial, and she had some things she said some things she's never said to me before, and it just wasn't pretty. And going off to college has helped a bit, but I still don't have the same kind of relationship with my mom. And I'm not trying to convert her, and I completely respect her views, but what I wanted to ask you both is, like, have you had a similar experience with family or friends who weren't atheists finding out that you were? Like, I've tried talking to my mom even months after the fact, after giving her time to calm down. So I guess the kind of add-on to the question is, have you explained to, like, a hardcore, logic-oblivious Catholic that your atheism is just as real to you as their Christianity?
I just want to ask, like, why are these conversations occurring with you and your mom?
I want her, I mean, she kind of found out, and I do want her to know me, like.
Oh, there are a lot of people that write to us, and they, a lot of times it's people that want to come out, and they feel really like, well, kind of what you're describing, but they haven't come out yet, and they're just like, I feel like I'm lying, and like these people are not, I'm afraid that if I come out they won't accept me, but I want them to accept me, but I want them to accept me for who I really am, not for this facade that I'm putting on. And so what you've kind of done is you've come out and you're now saying, I've come out and I'm this person, but she's not understanding, and I want her to understand and accept me and really appreciate who I am, not just say whatever. Now, just FYI, not everybody can always understand everything. I mean,
I know.
There's
it's
not
my mom that really hurts me, because we've just always been really close.
Yeah, no, I mean, I hear you, and I wish there was a magic bullet, but sometimes there's not. The best thing that you can do is to have cordial conversations as much as possible, and as much as she's willing to have them. Are the conversations usually, like, cordial? I mean, do you guys have civil conversation about religion?
Not about religion.
No. Okay. Outside of that, do you normally have good cordial?
Yes.
Okay. But what happens when you talk about religion now?
She gets on the defensive side and just starts talking about hell and how lack of faith leads to it. And it really hurts.
Yeah.
So this is really real for her. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You want her to understand your position that it's not real.
Yeah.
And she is, that is really tough for especially a hell-believing Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, can I,
And my dad almost makes it worse, because my dad's the yes man type. So my mom has said some really hard stuff in his presence, and he says nothing. I mean, if I was a kid who was being yelled at and almost verbally abused, fortunately I'm in college now, it's gotten better. But, like, I do consider what I went through around my senior year to be verbal abuse from my mom, and he just kind of did nothing.
What is his position on this whole religious thing?
We just had a conversation on the car ride over here just about, he thinks, like, pretty much how I think the idea of a benevolent God is just ridiculous when compared to the stuff that happens in the Bible. But he's just not the kind of man to say that, because he knows it would hurt my mom. And they're madly in love. Like, they've had 25 years in marriage, and they're just great together, but my dad is just not the kind of person to come forth with his religion.
Is he an atheist?
He wouldn't say he's an atheist. He's definitely not a Christian. I mean, he said he's looked at other religions, and Buddhism is the only thing that kind of makes sense. But
I think you might have an atheist. You might have an atheist dad who doesn't want to endure the same thing you're enduring with his wife. Yeah.
It's kind of hard, because both my sister is kind of leaning towards feeling the same way, and my dad won't, like, come out. Like, my mom thinks my sister's like the prized child, but really she's a closet. Like, she doesn't believe in that kind of stuff.
It just sounds like everybody in the family pretty much, and don't take this the wrong way, I'm not saying that you were stupid, but it sounds like everybody else in the family kind of knew not to tell Mom.
Yeah, and she did find out, but I was always kind of the more obnoxious kid who would say the harsher things to my mom, whereas my sister could hold back pretty easily.
Yeah, and as far as getting her to understand, there's no trick. If she will speak to you, you can speak to her. I would say that at any point when you start, or if, I shouldn't say when, but if you start to realize that you're having the same conversation over and over and over and over and no headway is being made, it might just be time to accept that your mother cannot understand this. It's almost like if you were a physicist and she couldn't understand physics, and you kept trying to explain it to her, and she was just like, I don't get these numbers. It's just, there's some things that just are not going to click with some people. They can't wrap their brain around.
Yeah, my dad said something really awesome today that was just kind of like, well, he was just like, Christianity is based on lack of reason. You can't really reason with somebody whose religion is lack of reason. Well,
and it's fear-based.
True.
But you're not even looking for reason. I think all you're looking for is acceptance. And what you want is just for her to I mean, it's one thing for me to, like, for example, let's say that you were dating a guy, and it was like, he was way outside the range of your best friend's, like, tastes. And you tell her before he meets her, and you just say, look, he's real different than what you normally like, but I'm really hoping, because you're my friend, you'll give him a chance, because I like him and he's a nice guy. You introduce them. You don't really expect her to say he's the kind of guy she would go out with, but you would at least want from her that kind of acceptance that says, you're my best friend, you love him, that's what matters. And so I accept him because you love him and he makes you happy. And it doesn't matter if I understand the relationship or if I understand him. I understand you, and I love you because you're my friend, and so I will accept him, and he's, part of the group now. And that's kind of what you're saying about your mom. It's not so much as you're saying I want her to understand atheism. You're just saying that you want her to be okay with you as you are. And sometimes all you can do is be okay with yourself as you are and just understand that some people can't accept some things.
Fortunately, I am, because of all of her crap that I've taken. But I'm very comfortable with myself. But
I mean, keep trying to speak to her until and unless you decide that it's useless.
Well, thank you guys. I watch your show a lot.
I don't know how helpful that was.
Oh, that was just to know that there's somebody. I just needed to talk to another atheist, honestly.
Okay.
Well, have you tried reaching out to other atheists, like on Facebook or something?
Yeah, forums are great.
I'm trying to see if there's some sort of atheist club here at the college that I go to.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Secular Student Alliance. Yeah. Contact them.
Yeah. And I know one of my roommates, we definitely have contact, but the thing is, she's a Christian. And so both my roommates are Christians because, guess who put on my application that I'm a Christian?
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
But I do love my roommates. I mean, they're more accepting, and they do know I'm an atheist, but I don't go into depth with them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, definitely reach out to a Secular Student Alliance group, and if you don't have one at your college, start one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. So, well, thanks for the call.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so we have Kyle in Washington State here. Hi, Kyle. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm calling about what Tracy said before you started taking calls.
Okay.
Regarding treatments for cancer and how it's probably best not to pursue treatments that don't seem scientific or mainstream because they're so unlikely to work.
Well, just if they have no demonstrated efficacy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that you just better not waste your money on them, even though it's a life and death situation.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if you would ever have a different perspective about such a treatment that didn't cost any money, like a change in diet.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
It seems to me like there's nothing to lose, even if it seems unskeptical.
Okay.
Or
let me ask you something. If you had a terminal illness, and because of this you thought, I have nothing to lose, and you made a change to your diet, but you started eating foods that you didn't like, Do you think that would be costly?
You know, that is a good point. I suppose there would be a cost like that if you're enjoying your what's left of your life less than you did before. But let's say you still do enjoy. Let's say it's a vegan diet, and let's say
I
you
can actually
enjoy
answer your question.
vegan alternatives.
I can answer your question because my husband had cancer. And we went through this, which is why I feel like I feel about it, because I really resent all of the people who made worthless recommendations. I don't really resent the people so much as I resent those events. When a person is taking care of somebody with cancer, they do not have a lot of energy, they don't have a lot of time, they often don't have a lot of money. And when people start saying, hey, you should try this supplement, or you should try this or that, what it means for that person is hours and hours and hours of research on the internet to find out that there is no demonstrated efficacy to what you just recommended. Now, if I was the person who was actually sick, I think it would even be worse. Because then I would have to be, and it's not like you're just getting one recommendation. You are getting showered with recommendations from well-meaning, unskeptical friends and family. And it is stressful because you feel like you want to do anything and everything you can possibly do to save this person's life. You would do anything that you could do to save them. I can't even begin to imagine the desperation and the vulnerability of someone who has a child with cancer. This was just my husband. If this had been my child, I don't know if I would have been able to maintain reasonability. But what I had to do was research everything. One of the books I got was the Alternative and Complementary Medicine book from the American Cancer Society. What I told my husband was, we will try anything and everything that has any demonstrated efficacy, that shows any kind of improvement in a laboratory environment, as long as it's reasonable to where we can afford it and where it's not going to hurt you or conflict with your standard treatment that you're using. There is a division that some people draw that not everyone draws, which is between alternative and complementary care. For the record, my understanding of the difference is that alternative medical treatment is what you do instead of getting real medical treatment. Complementary medical treatment, that would be something that you're doing in addition to doing what your doctor's recommending. So, for example, you're talking about if you wanted to eat better. Suppose you were eating a lot of crap and you just thought, you know, eating right makes you healthier overall. I don't think that any oncologist would say that improving your diet would be a bad thing. If you're, you know, depending on some treatments, you have to eat certain things, and I know a lot of times you're just trying to hold your weight on when you have cancer, and they'll let you eat stuff that's not that good because they want you to just keep your weight up. But what I'm talking about is if you were going to do something that was just a generally health improvement thing, I don't think your doctor would have a problem with it. And they would say that in general, this might help you feel better throughout your treatment. The doctor themselves might say, I don't think that it's going to help you fix your cancer, but it's not going to hurt you, and it might overall make you feel better, or make you, you know, make you a little more healthier during your chemo treatments or during whatever treatment you're taking. I don't have that much of an objection to somebody trying something that is overall demonstrated to improve general health. I don't have a problem with them doing some research and saying, you know, this showed some efficacy in this small way over here, and it's just a bottle of, you know, lycopene or whatever it is you want to take. And that, to me, is not that big of a deal. As when it comes to somebody recommending, for example, glutathione boosting stuff, which you can end up spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on, only to get the same benefit you could get from ingesting large amounts of vitamin C. You know, something like that would be bothersome. So the cost would make a little bit of a difference, but I would still say disregard it if you cannot find any reason to see that there's any efficacy with this. There should be some demonstration of some level of efficacy before you spend a dime or a minute of your time, because you don't know how much time you have left.
Well, thank you very much.
I hope it helps.
Are you familiar? Are you familiar? sorry, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I'm just curious if you've heard of the book The China Study, or the Forks Over Knives, which is supposedly based on it.
Yeah, have you heard that,
Okay.
that there are some serious problems with that study?
I understand that there are, but
Yeah.
in my situation, it's my dog that has cancer,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like we have nothing to lose
Are
by,
you feeding your dog a vegan diet?
Well, there you go. That's what we're doing right now.
You know that dogs are obligate carnivores. You're torturing your dog.
Well,
I mean, this is not a human being, right?
There's the thing. It may be, you know, not ideal and not healthy, but we know he's most likely going.
It's not only not ideal.
Because of cancer or anything.
It's not only not ideal. You're actually torturing this dog. Dogs have to eat meat.
Have you spoken to your vet about what you're doing?
Yes.
And the vet is okay with this?
Yes, actually, there's a good deal of research into vegetarian and vegan diets
for dogs.
Yes, for dogs.
They're carnivores. They evolved to eat meat.
Yeah, I mean, this is a biological reality.
They cannot survive on a vegan diet. You're killing this dog slowly. You may as well take it to the vet and have it euthanized.
It's not completely vegan. There is still meat involved in it.
Then it's not vegan at all.
Vegan diet.
Are you saying that you're adding vegetables to the dog's diet? I mean, is that all you're
trying
saying?
to reduce the meat and dairy.
Why?
Dairy I can kind of see.
Yeah, dogs probably shouldn't be eating dairy products anyway, but why are you reducing the meat in the dog's diet?
Because of the chance that it might do something. You know?
Do what?
Was this study done on dogs or was it done on people?
Well, the China study and
study is humans.
Forks Over Knives are of course about humans.
Then I mean that wouldn't translate to a carnivore. We are omnivores.
Yeah.
I mean you're trying. It's almost like when if somebody said that a certain thing worked on an octopus, and so you were like, oh, then I should try it. It's like it has to be something that is at least similar. Like physiologically, when you're talking about
vegetarian dog foods for dogs.
Yeah, they do make them.
It's meat substitutes. It's basically.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that to your dog?
Well, I tried to explain myself by saying he has cancer.
Okay.
We wanted something.
Right, but a human and a dog are they're not similar when it comes to diet. I mean, if it was two animals that were similar, like if you had a monkey or something that was like more, yeah, I'm trying to think what else. Like even a rat can eat different things, you know, or a pig. But a dog is evolved as Jen is saying, it's evolved as a carnivore, not as an omnivore. So to take a study that's done on diet based on an animal that metabolizes like so many different things versus an animal that metabolizes like one thing, I don't know how valid that would be. I'm questioning, I guess.
The question has to be then, I mean, what do I do?
Feed your dog. I mean, what kind of cancer does your dog have, and what's its prognosis?
Well, he had a tumor in his rectum.
Okay. And what's his prognosis?
They couldn't remove it. It wasn't surgically removable.
They removed part of it, but the cancer is still there.
Okay. So basically you're looking at, you know, your dog is probably terminal, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how long the dog has?
Probably maybe a year.
Okay. So why don't you feed the dog an appropriate dog food that the dog likes, and do your very best to give him the best quality of life that you can for the rest of the time that he has. And don't torture him with a vegan diet.
I'd like to express one thing, though. I mean, in addition, like, I guess not in addition to what Jen is saying, but as a separate thing, all right? I sympathize with you like 1,000%
Yeah.
when it comes to the feeling that you can't sit by and do nothing. You're in a situation where your doctor has told you, the vet has told you, they can't operate, and this cancer is still there, which Jen correctly said that means that this dog will die from cancer, if, assuming something doesn't kill it in the meantime. And I get the idea of saying standard treatment is offering you nothing right now. Literally, you have been told there is no more standard treatment. There is nothing else we can do to help your dog. And so you're at a point where you've kind of said, anything I can do is better than doing nothing, because there's this desperation that sits with the caregiver that says, I have got to do something. I cannot do nothing. I mean, I would have probably been the person at my husband's deathbed saying, I can't let go. I will just go with you to the grave, like trying to find something that is going to save your life. I mean, that's what I'm like, and I get that you're like that, and I think most people are like that. And so I'm hesitant to jump on you and guilt you into not doing the one thing you think is something, because I know how that feels to say I've got to do something. I would say that whatever you're doing, you have to live with this. When your dog is gone, ultimately the dog will die at some point of something. But when that dog is gone, and if this dog should die of cancer, you are the person who has to live with whatever you did or didn't do, right? And I get that. That's a burden that you're going to have to deal with. And it's tough because you don't ever want that thing or person that you love to go, and then you're thinking to yourself, I should have done this. I should have done that. I should have spent the money. That is torture, which is why I think it's hideous when people take advantage of that and try to sell crap. But while you're doing what you're doing, keep researching, all right? Just keep researching and keep informing yourself. And it may or may not change your mind about what you're doing with the dog. The dog may be okay. You may be getting everything it needs from a dietary standpoint, from weird supplemental diet, whatever. I don't know. But just keep researching. Don't stop learning about what you're doing and about what you need to know to help your dog. And know that whatever you do or don't do, you're the one that has to live with that. So do whatever you have to do to make yourself not have to live with regrets for the rest of your life after this year. Okay?
All right. I'm really sorry to take up so much of your time, but I would like to mention that it is...
I just wanted to let you know, I'm not unsympathetic to what you're going through, okay? I lost a dog that was very precious to me a few years ago. She died of kidney failure, and before she died, she had a lot of food allergies, so she could not eat the normal kidney diet that they offer, the standard dog food that they give you for a dog that has renal failure. She couldn't eat it because she was allergic. So I went to the USDA and I researched the recommended daily allowances for dogs for all the required nutrients, and I looked at the renal diets, and I made dog food for her. For like 2 months, I made fresh dog food for her based on the stuff that she had to have for her kidney that she could eat because of her allergies. Okay, so I get it. I understand. Okay, I wouldn't change a thing that I did. But, I mean, like Tracy said, you need to keep researching what you're doing. And I'm sorry you have to go through this. I know what it's like to lose a pet.
I appreciate everything you're telling me. And yes, I understand, of course, dogs have evolved as carnivores, but, it also seems to me like dogs will just eat anything
They will,
you give them at all. So it seems weird to think of it as meat and only meat for dogs.
Well, they will eat a lot of stuff, but they should have meat.
I have a kitten that ate cornbread tonight, so
yeah,
he got a hold of it. I mean, I don't know why that cat ate cornbread, but I know that's not a normal part of a cat diet.
Yeah.
Yes, all right. And it is my mother who was who is really into the China study and forks over knives. She's not a skeptic as I am. And it, I was more going along with what with the suggestions that she had about
you do what you need to do.
the cassicum
do what you have to do.
properties of the vegan diet.
Okay. Well, we need to get going here, so if you have any follow-up questions...
I'm sorry again.
No,
Okay.
don't apologize.
Don't apologize.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thanks for your call.
Thank you. All right. So let's go ahead and go to Daniel in St. Paul. Hi, Daniel. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hello.
I am I'm a theist, technically.
Okay.
I don't necessarily believe in the Bible God. I just don't like it when people use that to a reasoning for. How do I say this? It's hard to explain.
It always is.
I don't like it when people use the scripture and stuff to try and convert people and then say that their morals are better and stuff like that, just because of how it's written. The Bible basically says it. Because I don't necessarily follow the Bible or any other of those. I like to think I understand God in my own way. I don't know if that makes sense.
I'm sure it does to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And mine might sound convoluted to any normal Christian.
There's actually a lot of people who say they believe in God, but they're not religious. I'm a theist. I'm not religious.
Like how I would say it is, I believe maybe there was something that started it all, but he maybe just let it go from there.
Deism.
So you're a deist.
I don't know what that.
It means what you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But see, I hate it when they use things in the scripture, like when it says that basically the morals are better. I mean, the Bible literally says you can punish other people for your sins, and you get forgiven for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Your children have to bear your sins.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
According to the Bible, and that's moral.
Yeah.
Also, another question is, why would God allow someone to be born an atheist, knowing that they would become an atheist, and still let them be born? And I don't want to hear that I don't like it when people say from the Bible that He also gave us free will, because it doesn't say anywhere in the Bible that it gave you free will. No line in the Bible says that God was the one who gave you free will.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess technically humans took it when they ate the fruit.
They just did
Exactly,
what they wanted to do.
which sort of leads me to believe that it wasn't God who gave you free will, it was the snake, which the snake is a representation of, I believe, Satan.
Yeah.
I think later he became associated with Satan. I think in Eden
originally.
he was just an animal in the garden.
Just a serpent.
He
yeah.
was craftier than all the other animals.
Yeah.
Crafty serpent.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at the upstream comments.
Oh,
A
okay.
lot of them are really funny.
All right.
Okay.
But it's, I like your show. It's
All right,
a great show, but,
Thank you.
and I believe both atheists and theists are misrepresented on the show, because you either have the extremes or the people who don't really explain their point, they just stutter on for hours.
Well, yeah, well, and I would actually disagree with you on there, because most of the theists who call the show, they actually express very common beliefs that theists, particularly Christians, have. So people think that the people that call our show are, extreme, or they're not representative of mainstream beliefs, but these are actual ordinary Christians who call the show.
I mean, you're basically even saying that there's a type of Christian that bothers you, and it's the biblical literalist, that you don't really care for that perspective. And I mean, that's sort of a stereotypical perspective, but it's built on a I mean, they work hard to be homogenous. Don't they? They go together and they talk about what they believe, and they try to make sure they're all on the same page with what they're preaching and what they're teaching and what they're thinking. Isn't that what the biblical literalist is really all about?
Yeah, I'm sorry. The comments on the upstream thing are amazing.
Let's pay attention to the call.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm getting close.
You can read the comments after.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So you just wanted to say that you don't agree with them, or?
I wanted to say also pose a couple questions on why. Again, why? I believe I asked last time, but it was I was leaning towards the other. I was on a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
But I was posing my question towards the guy when you were also co-hosting, I believe.
Okay, it might have been Russell then.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just wanted to pose the same, because you don't seem to answer much unless you're either the host or it's pretty much, it's usually the host that a lot of the time takes the reins, I've noticed.
Okay.
It might
Okay.
just be me.
So you got 3 minutes. So
Why did you guys choose atheism?
I didn't choose.
I ended up at atheism.
What made you come to that opinion?
Yeah, I basically was raised a fundamentalist Church of Christ, and ultimately began to get some information regarding biblical origins that made me research Bible history, and I began to realize that Christianity was sort of a human invention. When I got out of Christianity, I still believed in God, because I thought, well, just because this religion is not correct does not mean there is no God. So I just kept going on with my God belief and spent probably the next decade trying to figure out. I would talk to people about God, and what I found is there were so many different ideas that when I would have a conversation, I had to be able to tell somebody what I was talking about. And when I would have to flesh this out more and more and more, I began to realize I was having a lot of trouble defining what it was I was even referring to when I used the word God. What did I mean by that? And I kept researching, and I kept researching all these questions about, well, it seems like God would be involved in this, or God would do that, and I would look it up, and there was always something different than what I expected to find. And ultimately what happened was I realized that I was just simply referring to everything as God, like the universe as God. And I looked that up, and I saw pantheism, and I was like, oh, that's kind of like what I'm saying, is that it's just the universe. And then I thought, why are they saying pantheists? Why don't they just, that's atheist? So I just was like, I guess I'm an atheist at that point, because I don't really think there's anything beyond what it is we can, if you can't find something to refer to that is God, if there's nothing there other than what is there, what else could you possibly mean? And so that became the problem, was if you're talking about something that doesn't exist, that cannot be, a point of reference, then what in the world are you talking about?
Can I ask a quick question because I don't want to ask before the time runs out?
Sure. Yeah, we've got 30 seconds, so let's go.
Okay. What do you find more comfort in, the certainty that there is no God and there is no life afterwards, or the certainty that there is? Which one do you believe you would find more comfort in if you did?
I don't claim certainty.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really worried about certainty, but my current belief that there is no God is, to me, it's not. It's sort of 6 of one, half dozen the other. I mean, I don't have to worry about whether or not I'm going to make it into heaven or hell. That's kind of comforting to be able to let go of that. But at the same time, I mean, to die and that's it. It doesn't bother me.
And we got to go. We are out of time. And if you are in the Austin area and you would like to join us at Threadgills, we will be there shortly. South Side location. See you there.